Alright, guys, let's start. I'm so sorry for the inconvenience because I have a slow internet connection. So let's start. Now I have a portrait, I have the values right here, and I have a circle. Okay, guys? The values here are divided into 10 sections from a 0% to 100%. Okay, guys, and what is that? This is the 100% is actually pure white and the zero is the black. Okay, guys, there are like infinite number of values between both the white and the black, but I have divided into 10 sections. So if it there, as you can see here, this is zero. If I'm going to go up, the number is going higher to 10. Okay, guys, like the 10 is this value, and then I'm going a little bit higher, another 10 numbers for the 20, and this is the 20, and so on. Alright, guys, so we can work with some values, not the infinite number. So now I have this ball right here, which is going to be a ball. This is a circle. Let's start and just choose a value. I like to, for the flat colors, the local color, which is the color of the face itself. So I'm gonna use like the 60 or 70. Alright, I'm gonna go a little bit lighter, but you have to give like a room for the light and also the highlight. So if you're going, you don't have to choose like the 90 and then just using black. It's going to be awful. So you gotta work on like the light area from like 50 to 100 for the local color. Of course, if you have a dark skin, you might get a little bit darker, but let's start on 70, okay? And let's work on the ball itself. So I'm gonna fill the ball with this value, alright? As you see in here, if I'm gonna move this one, if I'm gonna drop the opacity, you're thinking now that the color is darker, the value is darker, and now the value is lighter. It is actually the same value. It depends on the background. So if the background is dark, it's going to appear a little light, like related to this color. So if it is related to the white, so it's going to appear to be a darker one. I'm gonna use the same on the portrait of the girl. Okay, and I'm gonna fill the portrait with the same color I have just used. Alright, you can fill it the way you want. This is not going to be, since it is a live stream, I guess it's not going to be a pretty much accurate, but it is going to be a good start for you guys to learn how to render and so on. But I'm gonna try to make it as accurate as possible. I'm so sorry if someone sent a message. I'm gonna check on them since I have only just a one monitor, so it's going to be hard for me to check everything while also doing this live stream. Alright, so I have chosen this color for what for the local color, but as you see, the head itself is not just one color. We have to draw also, choose a value for the hair. Alright, this is like the hair. And let's see, I'm sorry. Let's see, guys. And also, I'm going to choose another color, maybe a lighter one for the eyebrow. Let's just choose a a softer brush for like the transition. Okay, this is how most of the time I fill my or I'm doing laying the flat colors. All right, here we go. All right. I'm going to choose another one for just a little bit for the eyebrows. Just the eyebrows. And that's all. You may actually use another one for the lips, but you may not doing it also. All right, adding just some flowing hair here and there. All right. Also for the eyes, let's choose just a little bit of white, not pure white, just for the sclera, and a darker one for the iris itself. All right, and the pupil. Alright guys, so as you see now, I'm just laying in the flag colors. Now, I'm going to choose a this light direction. If the light direction is actually above the ball, not from here or here, just straight from the the top of the circle. So what I'm going to do, actually what is going to be happening is the the sphere, as you see right here, the ball is going to be divided into two sections. One which is dark, which is the shadow, and the other one which is the light. Alright guys, but since this we are talking about the ball, so the values are not going to be distributed like that. Okay, so how it is going to be, it is going to wrap around. So if you going to draw it like wrapping around, it is going to be like this. But we already chosen the 70. Maybe we can go to the 40. Okay guys, and just draw as you see right here. Okay guys, these are the shadows and this is the light. Alright, so how we gonna do that on our portrait? This is only the shadows guys. Alright, because we're going to go from a step to another step. So we're going to go here, clip a layer above the head layer, and then start like that. I'm gonna lay in the shadows. So someone is going to tell me I don't know how to lay in the shadows. So that means you have to know where first by studying the planes of the head and so on. It doesn't have to be that accurate, but I'm gonna show you how you might do it. Alright guys, let's say I'm gonna put some shadows in here and here, also below the nose and for the upper lip and below the the lower lip. Alright, I'm using a hard round brush, but with a little bit of a softer edge. You don't actually have to do the same. I'm gonna teach you some techniques right now to control your pen pressure and also control the brush you are actually using. So I have done this for the shadows, and I'm gonna actually discuss or explain some things because you might don't know how things are going to be like this or why. Let's say the head is actually looking like that. Why I have done this around the eyes itself? If we're going to watch from the profile view, okay, this is the eyes itself. As you see in here, if the lights are going from this way, the brows or the brow edge is going to cast shadows on the eye socket. Okay guys, so this is how it looks. Alright, this is like a brow, like a ridge. So the socket will be filled with the shadows. And also, if I'm going to draw the nose, so again, it is going to cast a shadow below the nose and also the lips. If the light's going from here, then this is going to be filled with shadows, but the light will actually hit the lower lip. Alright guys, and why I actually done the shadows part from the sides, that's because if you have like a cylinder as this one, let's say this is a cylinder and I've actually filled it with a color. So the cylinder, since it is rounded from both sides, so it is going to be like this. If it shows this one, shadows will be from both sides. Alright, this is how a cylinder works. The shadows on the cylinder will be on both sides. That's like the easiest way to mention that. But you have to study the planes of the head and so on because it is actually complicated, like not like this. Okay, now I have filled the shadows. Let's go and try to blend those shadows before we move to the other step. And how we blend like this edge, okay, to be blended on the cheeks, or this edge to be blended on this value, which is the local head, to make a transition, which is this transition, guys. This is like the shadows, but this transition is what we call a halftone. What we call a halftone, which is the gradation from the light to the dark. This is the gradation, guys. Alright? So, how we're actually going to do it? There are like multiple techniques. I'm gonna show you some of them. If I have, as you say, if I have this value and also this one, alright, guys, what are those techniques? The first one is using a blending stump or a blending brush. Alright, just a blending brush to blend the edges to each other. So there is actually a gradation from here As you see, 37, we're going to 44, 45, and 50 to the 60. Okay, guys, from 37 or 37 to like the 70. This is the gradation, and I've actually used just the blending tool. Alright, the blending tool. This is the first one to actually have a soft edge. And why we try to make a soft edge? Because it makes it more rounded, makes it more 3D. But we're going to draw like a combination between soft edges and hard edges. Where to use it and why we use it, I've actually talked about that like multiple times, but it depends on the intensity of the light and how far or close the light is from the object. Alright, so now I have used the blending tool. Let's go back and try another another way. Sorry. Let's choose another way. The other way, which is actually easier, is using a soft eraser. Alright, guys, soft eraser. And just it won't work here since I'm working on a single layer. So let's say I'm just going to delete this one, choose a layer here. Let's say I'm using this. Alright, and on top I'll use the other value, which is the shadows. I'm just going to use an eraser, a soft one, and then just erase from here. Alright, guys, so as you see now, it is actually blended. Again, like 40, 47, 50, 50, and 60, and we're going to 70. I'm actually saying the numbers here on the color wheel. See, the values are going up, up. Alright, this is the second technique to blend. Alright, so let's say we need another one. The other one is going to be just using the controlling the pressure of your brush, which is using the color from here and then just press lightly on the edges, lightly on the edges, and then press here and again lightly. You can take the value from the lighter side if it's going to be a little bit dark again, and from here, as you seen, but I don't actually like this one since there are lots of tools that helps us to skip this phase. So let's check. We have the value, which is 40, and we go for 47, 48, 50, 60, and 70. So we have the gradation. Alright, guys, the last one I've already mentioned 3. So for the last one is using a a soft brush. Alright, guys, just using a soft brush. And how is that going to work? I'm using a soft brush, I'm using a dark value, then I'll just do as you see right here. Pressing hard from here and then lighter, lighter, lighter to give the gradation. Alright, that's what a soft brush does. It actually gives the soft edge. So let's check. 40, 42, 46, 47, 50, 60, and we're going to 70. Okay, guys, so those are the techniques or my tips on rendering or blending. So it actually makes it easier for you because I see lots of people just go from here and everything just messes up the second they actually try to shade or render. So let's try and see what are the results going to be if I used this technique. I'm sorry, let's check if someone has sent a message or not. Alright, none. That's cool. Let's go back here. Now I'm going to use a blending, as you see in here, a blending brush. I'm going from the dark to the light. Going from the dark to the light. Alright, guys. Now, again, I'm going from the light to the dark. I'm just doing this because if I want the gradation to come to the cheeks, then I'm going from the dark to the light. If I want to try to actually make the shading looks a little more like smaller, I'm going from the light to, like as you've seen here, I'm going from the light to the dark so I can make the gradation just to position it well. Alright, I'm going on the edge. Let's say I've done it here. Now you can see it is given that 3D look, the roundness. Alright, I'm going from here just to sculpt some things, soften this edge, also this edge. What we actually, the result is the gradation as you seen, guys, and the gradation is the halftones. The gradation we seen here is the halftones, so I'm gonna pick some from here and do the shading of the form shadows for the nose. And I'm just going to, because I have done like a big shadow for the sockets, sorry, choose it, and for the sockets itself we're going to change lots of things while rendering. Alright, now it actually appeared to be a 3D, to be rounded, to look rounded. Alright, guys, I'm using a soft brush to determine those tendons. And that's it. Alright, guys, for the next step, since I have done the shadows, I'm going to, and the halftones, I'm going to do some, just a little bit of a reflective light. And the reflective light is the light that bounces from the surroundings or the ground to the ball. And it's going to be darker than the halftones. So if the halftones are actually 60 or a little bit like lower, which is 52, I'm just going to choose the color, the value of the shadow, and just going a little bit higher. But I don't want to reach the 50s, okay? Because the reflective light is actually lighter than the shadow but darker than the halftones. So if the halftones has the value like 57, 53, like 50s, and the shadows are 40, I want to go from 40 to 50. So let's say I'm going to 40, 48 and choose here, and then I'll just draw the reflective light. It's a little bit, you can't see well, but when I actually do the reflective light, this is the what appears, which is the terminator. Alright, the terminator. And this is the value, which is 47 of the reflective light. Now, I'm going to go on our portrait and just doing some reflective light. Maybe it won't appear as much as I want it to appear, but I'm going to adjust the shadows and levels later. Alright, so as you see in here, this is like the light side, the halftones, the terminator, and the reflective light. Alright, that's what actually reflective light does when we apply it to the shadow part. It just gives us that terminator. Alright, now for the second or the upcoming step, which is sorry which is the ambient occlusion. So if I have the ball in here, let's just erase this one so we won't be distracted. So I have the ball in here. So the ambient occlusion is going to be a darker value. Let's say these are like the shadows. I'm going to take like this or this one and blow the ball, blow it below. This is the ambient occlusion, which is the darkest part of the portrait. So we apply it to our portrait. It's going to be like the creases. It is going to give some form, alright, to our portrait. Just doing it lightly. Below like the ears and so on, below the, the chin. Now as you seen, it actually gives some form. Darken just some parts. Maybe we're gonna lighten a little bit of the eyes itself so it appears more. Alright, as you see right now, it is more defined. Alright guys, okay, I gotta give you a no, let's leave it to the end of the shadows. I'm gonna give you a good tip. Alright, now I have done like the ambient occlusion and I apply it to our portrait. Alright, now for the light part, I've already chosen a 70. The value is 70. So I'm going to go a little bit higher, maybe 80 or 90, maybe 80. Okay, and just go from here and lighten the part which is the actually the light going to hit. Alright? So I'll use that on our portrait for the parts that going to hit by the light, which is the forehead, a little bit of the bridge, upper of the eyes, also here, the cheeks, going to catch light. I'm just going so smooth. Alright. Now it actually defines the form even more. Dark's giving it like the depth, and light is giving it like the form. Alright guys, and for this one, and here you go. This is the light part. Just going to darken some areas so it won't be that much of a big difference between the light and the dark. Alright, as you see in here, the excessive using of the soft brushes makes it look more of like a plastic, more of a doll. So in the end, you're going to use some textured brushes, adding some hard edges and so on. I'm just here. This is like the start of it. Alright, I'm just trying to give you a good start, and then you're gonna continue from here. Just making the darks even more dark, as you see in here. Let's say, giving the darks more dark, or the light even more like lighter. Let's say we're going to see the ears a little bit darker, the neck also a little bit darker, but not that dark. Alright, for the last step is adding highlights. So if this is our ball, I'll use a pure white and then add our highlight. I like to just go for a soft brush so I won't go overboard with it. These are actually the highlights on the cheeks, for the nose, a little bit here, and beside the nose, below the lips, highlights on the lips, a little bit here, and just a tad here. These are like the highlights. Maybe just adding some life to the eyes, highlights on this eyelid, over the upper eyelid, and so on. Don't go overboard with it, as I said. Can add. And now it looks a little bit good. So guys, again, this is like the start. So what you see in here is only the start of it. You have to work like on the rendering part for some time, like darkening what actually needs to be darkened and even go lighten what needs to be light. Alright, I'll give you an example. Maybe I'll just go from here, like I wanna darken a little bit of the brows from here and just leave it light from here. I'll use a lighter part to make some spaces between the hair strands. Alright, I'm going to make the eyes a little bit darker, adding lashes. Alright, darken a little bit of the eyes, which is the iris. And so on. Gonna add darks below. Now I have actually defined the eyes a little bit more to me be like more pronounced. I'm going to work on the lips. Alright guys. And I'll have to add some highlights on the upper lip. Makes it even glowier. Adding some shadows on those nodes. Make this one a little bit darker. Also this just a tad darker. And so on guys. Maybe I'll just darken a little bit. I want the shadows to be kinda darker. So I'll use this as a guide and go a little bit darker. As you see in here, I wanna have this terminator to be shown. I want to add a little bit darks in here, so for the halftones, and so on guys, so on and so forth. Since you're not actually haven't done anything with the hair, I can go for a little bit like darks to define the hair and make the colors look of the head itself looks more pronounced. Alright, working on some darks. If I'm darkening the hair, so these values on the head itself will be looking now a lighter. Alright, here we go. I'm darkening this a little bit. And that's it guys. Maybe adding some darks below the hair and some lights. And that's it guys. And again, I can work from here for hours. So it is your call. Alright, this is your call, guys. You can work from here like for hours, or you just stick with this one. And I have this brush, which is this one. I can remember what it does. I'll choose this value and doing like some freckles, and that's all. And again, guys, that's not by any means a final product. Okay, you can work, as I said, for lots of hours on the same one. If I'm going to hide the rendering, this is like a different, like a different human being, but I guess it looks good. Alright, I hope you like this one, and you can start and doing it by yourself. So, see you guys on another video. Goodbye.